Hello everybody, my name is Scott Favor with Virginia Mobile Air Conditioning Systems, also known as VMAX. Today we're going to do an out-of-the-box on Webasto part number 5012550A. That part number goes for a North American Airtop 2000 STC 12-volt diesel air heater kit. The Airtop 2000 is a 2 kilowatt rated air heater. So that's what we've got in the box right here. You can see on the Webasto label, there's your Webasto part number. So anytime you order that part number, again, is a 5012550A from your authorized North American Webasto distributor. This is the box you're going to get, and you're going to get the stuff that's in here. So let's get to it. We'll pop our box open. Here's what we'll see. Your air heater is in this box. The rest of the box is taken up by the components it's going to take to connect the heater to your vehicle and make it work. This is a universal kit. It's not meant to be vehicle specific. The only items about this heater that are specific are it does require diesel fuel and it does require a 12-volt DC electrical system to make it work. So as long as you got those two things in your vehicle, you're good to go. So let's go ahead and grab the first thing out of the box. Here's our instruction manual. We've got a very good instruction manual. These Webasto manuals for this particular heater is about 39 pages long. Comes with some mounting templates. Let's take a quick look here. You got a mounting template for whichever situation you need, whether you're going to direct mount without the plate. You get the mounting pattern for the holes on the heater. If you are going to use the mounting plate, you also get the hole pattern for the single 4-inch hole. So either way you need to go, you've got your template. We got a 39-page instruction book with tips and tricks and do's and don'ts on how to mount the heater and install all of the components that it's going to take to connect the heater and make it work, as well as specifications that you might need in the future if you decide to add additional components to your heater. For example, your air inlet and exhaust tubing, there is a maximum allowable length on that tubing. Those specifications are in this book. So make sure you keep this installation manual once you're all done, because you may need to reference it in the future. Let's go ahead and do the heater next. So we're going to open up our heater box. And when I'm talking with folks on the phone or in person about these heaters and they haven't seen one, I generally describe this as being about the size of a shoebox. So if you're planning to install one of these in your vehicle and you're trying to find an area to put it in or identify that spot, think about a shoebox. You know, give it a few extra inches on each side. Those instruction manuals will tell you how much clearance is required around the heater, but roughly the size of a shoebox, and that'll get you what you need. We're going to open up our heater. We've got a small bag in here with our inlet grate. This is the grate that snaps on the inlet end of the heater for the air that's being heated for the cab. Keeps any trash from getting sucked into the heater while the heater's in operation. And then here we have your heater. As I said, this is the Airtop 2000, a 2 kilowatt heater. The larger heater, the 4 kilowatt heater, is considerably larger than this. It's not double the size, but it is noticeably larger than this heater. The 2000 Airtop 2000 uses 60 millimeter ducting connections on the end. On the top, you've got an airflow indicator to tell you which way the air is going to pass through the heater. The inlet grate I showed you would snap on the one end. The other end can be open, or you can attach ductwork. Ductwork is an optional item. It happens to be included in this particular kit, but not all kits do come with the ductwork. Again, 60 millimeter ductwork, lots of accessories to go with it. On the side of the heater, you have your data plate. On this plate is your serial number, your model number, and all the important information about your heater when you're installing this. If you can, install it in a manner that the data plate can be read. In the event you need service in the future, the technician servicing your heater might need to get the serial number off this plate. So data plate, there's your inlet and outlet. The wiring harness you connect will connect into this hole here. There's a single plug in here that you can't get wrong because there's only one plug like that on the wiring harness. Plug your harness in, put this top on. Those are your electrical connections. On the bottom of the heater, you have your 4 mounting studs, your fuel inlet. This wire is the wire that plugs into the harness to operate your fuel pump. There's no connector housing on it now. The connector housing is in the kit. They do it this way to make installation a little bit easier. So once you get everything installed, you'll snap this connector housing on there and you'll be ready to plug into your harness. Don't put this connector housing on until you're ready to install it though, because it takes special tools to get it off. So once it's on, it's on. All right, you have your combustion air inlet and your combustion exhaust. So this is the air that's getting sucked into the heater to create a fire. The exhaust is coming out here. The way it's installed makes this completely sealed and separate from the operator space, which is where your heated air is going in and out. So that's the air heater. Next thing we're going to take out of the box is our mounting plate. So this is a package that contains the rubber gasket that goes on the bottom of the heater, the steel mounting plate, this is a nice mounting plate, and your mounting surface gasket. So as I mentioned a minute ago, you can mount this heater in one of two ways. You can mount it directly to the floor, or your other mounting surface using these 4 bolt holes, this rubber gasket which fits right here to the bottom of the heater. As long as you've got a nice straight flat mounting surface with no imperfections, you can bolt this right to your mounting surface. If you have an issue with imperfections in your surface, you would use this mounting plate, which is the same one that was just in that bag. This plate is nice, stiff, it's heavy steel. It's about 1/8 inch powder coated black. So this is a nice component. So you put your rubber gasket again here. You then put your plate on like this. Your rubber gasket is now sealing the heater to this plate. You then take your foam gasket. This gasket's about 1 inch thick. It's a nice gasket. You drill your 4-inch hole in the floor, install this gasket onto your plate, and then you install the heater on the floor. And what that does is you now have made all of these items essentially outside the vehicle. So your mounting bolts are out here, your combustion air intake and exhaust are now outside. We never want these inside the passenger compartment. That is absolutely not a good idea. And your fuel connection is now outside the vehicle. So all this stuff is essentially outside the vehicle, sealed with the foam gasket and the rubber gasket on the bottom of the heater. So there's your mounting. You're good to go. So next thing we're going to pull out of the box is our wiring harness. This is the main wiring harness. It looks like a lot here because it's jumbled up. It's really not that much. So, I did not mention that steel mounting plate. The steel mounting plate is available as a separate component. Part number is 900700. Your floor gasket, this one right here, is also available as a separate part. That part number is a 902001. So if you need those, you can get them separately. All right, sorry, back on track. Your main harness. So your main wiring harness, this looks like a lot. There's really not that much here. It's just long. They don't know what kind of vehicle this is going to go in, so they try and give you plenty of length to the harness so that you can route it through the vehicle where you need to go. So you've got your main plug. This is the one I told you. There's only one like this on the whole harness, so this one has to go on the heater because it's the only matching plug. So this plugs into your heater. You got your grommet that fits in that kind of odd shaped hole that I showed you on the cover. You've got this connector right here. It's going to connect to your controller, you're going to see as we pull it out of the box. And then you've got your ring terminals that are going to hook to your power supply, along with your weatherproof fuse holders. Weatherproof fuse holders. So these can be mounted in the engine compartment if you need, or inside. They're weatherproof with a rubber gasket on them, so no big deal. Good to go. All right, there's your main harness. Next item we're going to pull out of here is our fuel pump harness. So this harness plugs into those 2 wires that are on the bottom of the heater that I showed you a minute ago. They're going to connect to the bottom of the heater. Then the other end is going to connect to your fuel pump. This is a 2-meter harness. There is also a longer harness available, 7 meters. 7 meters is 21 feet, so you would need to have the fuel pump 21 feet basically from the bottom of the heater. This is usually plenty, but the other one is available if you need it. So next item, we have our controller. This kit comes with the Rheostat controller, which is the standard knob dial type controller that Webasto has used for many years. It's highly reliable, very simple operation, works just fine in any application. Next item we're going to pull out of the box is our fuel tank standpipe. So this is the heavy duty standpipe. This is what you would use to drill a hole or pull fuel from your tank. You would drill a hole in the tank, insert your adapter pieces to hold the top in the tank, cut your tube to length, connect your fuel line to this end. Fuel would then be pulled from here to your filter, to your pump, and then onto the heater. So here's your fuel tap for your fuel tank. Next item we have out, we've got a bag full of fuel system components. So in this bag, we've got several meters of fuel line. We've got your rubber fuel pump hanger. Let's see if you can see it. Looks like that. Oh, I have an example here. Looks like this. So this is the newer style hanger. It's 100% rubber with the exception of this metal insert right here where the bolt hole is. So the old style hanger works just fine, but the old style hanger is a metal hanger with a rubber coating. They've replaced that with this one some time ago. The 100% rubber construction of this hanger can quiet down the ticking noise that's made by the fuel pump when the fuel pump is in operation. So if you already have an installation and you want to try and quiet that ticking noise, you can install one of these as a simple upgrade. They're available separately, part number 9001441B. This might quiet down your fuel pump ticking, because sometimes with that metal bracket, because the metal bracket is metal and rigid, it would actually transfer that ticking sound into the chassis of the vehicle and amplify it. So if you want to give it a try, it's not that expensive, and a pretty easy modification. So back to the bag, we got your fuel tubing, your fuel pump hanger, your fuel pump. So here's our fuel pump. So the one end of that small harness I just showed you plugs directly into this fuel pump. There's a plug right there. The other end plugs to your main harness. Fuel tubing coming from the standpipe I just showed you, which is this tubing right here, plugs into one end of the pump. The other end of the pump, the tubing goes out to the heater. The connector housing I spoke of earlier is right here in the bag. So this is the little housing you're going to put on those two wires that are coming out the bottom of the heater. So there's your fuel pump. Next item out of the box, we're going to pull another bag of fuel system parts. So these are our fuel component connectors. Webasto uses pieces of rubber to connect the different fuel system components. So you've got straight rubber connectors. There's a 90-degree molded elbow in here also, so that you can make a nice 90-degree bend without worrying about kinks. Your fuel filter, which is right here, and your standard size fuel line clamps. So fuel filter, it's important to note, fuel filters come with these kits because Webasto wants you using a fuel filter for their equipment. That's why they put it in here. If they didn't want you using it, they wouldn't put it in here. This is not the same filter that you're going to get at the hardware store for your lawnmower. It looks similar, but it's not. This filter has a ceramic core. It filters from 25 to 30 microns. That's very small on the micron scale. So microns are a rating of measurement that is used when rating filtration. So the filter in the air conditioning system in your house has a micron rating. Oil filters on engines have a micron rating. Fuel filters have a micron rating. So what's a micron? Well, as you would just think, I would happen to have right here at my fingertips a micron chart. So if we took a human hair and cut it, the diameter of a human hair would be roughly 88 microns, which is this outer circle. 25 microns, which is what that little filter filters to, is right here. You're not going to get that kind of filtration from a little screen, and this is the one Webasto recommends, so use this filter. These are available separately. This is one of the few regular maintenance items that you need to replace on your heater. The part number for this filter is a 504-87171A. So fuel filter, our fuel lines, our fuel line clamps. The fuel line clamps, Webasto does use a particular type of fuel clamp. It looks like this guy right here. It looks similar to a standard worm drive clamp, but as you can see, it's not a worm drive clamp. These clamps Webasto specifically uses because they do a very good job of providing an even 360-degree clamping force around the tubing. So when you have your connectors, like I just showed you in that bag, these rubber pieces, You insert your fuel line into the rubber pieces, you put your clamp on there. When you tighten this down, you get a 360-degree even clamp around here. A worm drive clamp can. Most of the time they work just fine, but Webasto is trying to eliminate any possibility for malfunction here. So a worm drive clamp can actually bunch your hose up and create a spot for air to suck into your fuel line. So to eliminate that possibility, they specifically use these clamps. So there's a bunch of these in the kit. These are also available separately if you need. They're really small, so it is not that hard to over tighten them and mess them up. If you need one, the part number on these is a 5012000A. So you'd insert your fuel line into the connector. Here's what the fuel filter looks like. When you're putting everything together, everything in the system works like this. You just push the rubber connectors onto all the different components, put them together, tighten your clamps, and you're good to go. So fuel filter, fuel line. Next thing we have in here, we've got some ducting. This kit includes ducting. Not all kits include ducting. This is high temperature rated ducting. Do not use regular automotive style flexible ducting. That stuff is fine for a regular heating and air conditioning system. This is high temperature rated. The heat that comes out at the end of this heater is hot and can possibly melt that other style of ducting. So make sure you use this. This is a foil impregnated paper construction, very durable, lasts you a long time. Again, the Airtop 2000 60mm ducting. Then we have a bag of ducting components. We've got a louver, which looks like this guy right here. We've got an intake grill, which looks like this guy right here. They both have collars, so you could attach them to some cabinetry, and then your ducting will slide right over that collared end. The clamps that it'll take to clamp the hose onto the louver and the inlet grate. There's a handful of wire ties in here. Next item out of the box, we've got our combustion air intake tubing. Again, we have a foil impregnated paper type construction, very durable stuff. You're going to use this to connect to the bottom of your heater. This is where the intake air pulls in for combustion, about a ½ meter long. Next item is going to be our our exhaust system tubing, stainless steel tubing. This is about 1 meter of tubing, 22mm diameter. All these Airtop 2000 series heaters use 22mm inside diameter intake combustion and combustion exhaust tubing, 22mm. And then we have a bag of clamps for our exhaust system. So we've got our clamp to clamp the exhaust system to the heater, and then several clamps for also the combustion air intake tubing, and P-style clamps to clamp the tubing up into the vehicle. So when you're running the tubing, there are specifications in the manual, tips and tricks to get you to run it in the proper direction so that you don't have any issues. And as I mentioned earlier, limitations to the length and run. If you wanted to add a muffler later on or an air intake silencer later on, you can do that. The last thing we have in our box is a small bag of connectors, spare fuse, and a screw. So that's it for everything that's in the kit. I wanted to take a quick mention of a couple of items that we've put together here in-house that might help you out. One of our items, we have if you're installing one of these diesel kits into a Sprinter, we have a fuel system connector kit that makes use of the auxiliary fuel tap port that's already on the fuel tank in your Sprinter. There's a special rubber elbow, special clamps, and the push lock fitting that snaps right onto that. So one part number gets you 4 different parts. That'll get you connected to your fuel tank. Your Webasto fuel line connects to one end. The other end connects to this push lock fitting, which then snaps on your fuel tank. We also have, the part number on that kit is a 10-7-0010. We also have a kit for Ford Transit diesels. Same situation, 10-7-0009. Different push lock specifically for Ford Transit gas. Pickup tube, your clamps, and your elbow. Ford Transit gas and diesel do not use the same push lock fitting, so that will not fit gasoline. We also have a kit that we've developed in-house, which is a muffler kit, an exhaust system silencer that fits these Airtop 2000 heaters. Our part number is a 90-3-0006. Again, this is our part number, not Webasto's, but all of the items that are in this kit do come from Webasto. So there's about 6 or 8 different part numbers in here. that'll make it easier for you to add a muffler to your kit. There's a meter of exhaust pipe in here, your stainless steel muffler clips and clamps. Same type of kit for your air intake, 90-3-0005. Includes your intake tubing, clips and clamps with hangers, and your air intake silencer. So you see this thing on the internet a lot. This is not a filter. This is not a filter. This is an air intake silencer. All it's meant to do is quiet down the operation of your heater. You see the muffler and the silencer offered a lot as components in kits that are sold from European sellers. Many European countries have noise pollution standards, and typically that's not something we have here in the US, so those are not included as those are usually not included in factory packaged kits. So if you want those items, they're certainly available separately. Anything we can do to help you out, we would appreciate it if you'd give us a call. We're an authorized distributor, and that's our job. We're here to help you and help you make the best of your product, find you repair parts if you need. Please consider giving us a like and subscribe if you'd like to be informed about future content. Thank you so much for watching. Hope everybody